Welcome to the Goodyear City Council meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address City Council on both non-agenda and agenda items. The agendas and the speaker request cards are located on the tables outside of council chambers. You must fill out a speaker card in order to address the City Council. Please hand in your completed card to the city clerk before the start of the meeting. If the meeting has already begun, please hand it to any city staff. You may also check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to still voice your opinion on an item on the record without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a city staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The city clerk will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes, and there is a timer visible from the podium. When the light changes from green to yellow, your time is coming to an end. When the light turns red, your time is up. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear City Council meetings stream live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
I'd like to call the regular meeting to order for November 7th, 2022. As a reminder, we have a new system. Please be patient. Will the city clerk please let us know who is present for the record? Oh, got it. Thank you.
Let the record reflect that all members are present.
Thank you. A vote may be held to call an executive session for the following reason pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3. Consultation with the city attorney and city manager to receive legal advice related to regulatory matters associated with wastewater capacity at the city's water reclamation facility, and pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3, consult with the city attorney and city manager to receive legal advice related land use law and procedures related to the use permit and special use permit application for a Dollar South storage and a McDonald's restaurant with a drive-through. Would you go ahead and please enter a motion and a second to convene an executive session? I have a motion and a second. Open the voting. Motion passes 4-0. We will now convene into executive session. I'm adjourning the executive session. Now reconvening the regular meeting. Please join Councilmember Kano in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, thank you for the opportunity to gather to conduct the business of the city, and we invite you into these chambers. This is a time of year our hearts turn to gratitude. We are thankful for the right to vote and pray for a peaceful and safe election day tomorrow for our city, state, and nation. Our hearts are full of gratitude for our military veterans and for their family members who also make great sacrifices for their service. On Friday, our city will join in celebrations across the country to give thanks to those who are currently serving, as well as those who have formerly served in the armed forces. As we begin to prepare for Thanksgiving, we are eternally grateful for the many blessings bestowed upon our city. We are thankful for our economic strength, the attraction of new development and businesses, our talented and enthusiastic workforce, and as always, for our police and fire personnel. We ask you to continue to keep Goodyear safe in your care. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember Kano. Now is the time for citizens who would like to address the City Council on any non-agenda item within the jurisdiction of the City of Goodyear. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Will the city clerk please read the consent agenda items 3 through 9 by title only?
Number 3, approval of minutes. Number 4, recommend approval of a new Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license for Happy Cat Smoke and Vape located at 13375 West McDowell Road, Suite 109. Number 5, recommend approval of a new Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license for Dash Mart located at 13277 West McDowell Road, number 101. Number 6, adopt resolution number 2022-2274, approving and adopting a document entitled the Goodyear Municipal User Fee Schedule, replacing and superseding the Municipal User Fee Schedule adopted by resolution number 2021-2167 as amended, providing for an effective date. Number 7, approve the Drug Enforcement Agency Task Force and Equitable Sharing Agreement and Annual Certification Affidavit. Number 8, approve expenditure up to $2,190,000 for the cleanup of Bullard Wash between Interstate 10 and Gila River, Project 60080. Number 9, adopt resolution number 2022-2277, declaring a public record that certain document filed with the city clerk entitled Amendment to Goodyear City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 11, Offenses, Section 11-1-28, amending unruly gathering regulations, and adopt ordinance number 2022-1560, enacting an amendment to Chapter 11 of the City of Goodyear Code of Ordinances, amending regulations in Section 11-1-28, unruly gatherings, providing for correction, severability, and an effective date.
Does anyone on the council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion and a second? I've got that. Motion and a second. Up for the vote. Motion carries 7-0. We're up next is business. I'd like to remind council to wait for a motion and a second before any discussion. Number 10, first item on business is to consider approve a new CIP project for Australia Parkway, Hadley to Goodyear Boulevard North. Go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
City Council, Chris Bridges, Transportation Planning Manager. Happy to be here this evening. This project is a little shiny on the screen here, but it is on Australia Parkway in front of the post office frontage. We've seen an opportunity here to move forward with hopefully not creating a scallop street in partnership with the Goodyear 27 development just to the south side of this. As part of their improvements, they are required to do improvements on both Yuma and Australia Parkway. They've offered to partner with us on the design and hopefully maybe construction as well, so that we can put these things all together and it'll look like one project and hopefully not create a scallop street, which I know is something that is near and dear to all of our hearts. I just wanted to note real quick that the project scope would add one additional northbound travel lane, a right turn decel lane, bike lane, curb gutter, sidewalk, ADA ramps, and landscaping in front of the post office. And the only other thing to note before I close and take any questions is this is not eligible for a cost recovery ordinance since the post office is already there, and the likelihood of that changing or redeveloping is very slim. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you. Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience like to speak? Seeing none, will the council please enter a motion and a second to approve the creation of a new CIP, project number 42069 for Estrella Parkway, Hadley to Goodyear Boulevard North, and fiscal year 2023 for design, $53,900, and construction, $817,800, and authorize required budget amendments. Do I see a motion and a second? Yes, I do. Please, let's see. Let's get it open for discussion. Councilmember Stipp.
Christopher, the improvement to this particular area, is that going to help with the entrance and exit to the post office?
There will
That's
be.
pretty tight.
Yes, Mayor, Councilmember Stipp. So the primary entrance is on Hadley there. Part of the improvements on Estrella will impact that left turn in. There will be right in, right out on Estrella. A second portion of this, which is not part of this project today, would be addressing the Goodyear Boulevard side, where we would need to do some driveway improvements to perhaps allow the full access for a post office there. So hopefully this will be all seamless and will be better and safer when this is all done.
So I'm just trying to get my head around this. So we are going to, if you're coming southbound on Estrella Parkway, you're not going to be able to turn left into the post office?
You will until the improvements on Estrella are completed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Right.
when we get all done, anybody coming from the north to the Goodyear post office is going to have to do what? U-turn somewhere?
Correct. And that would be in the short term. The project immediately after this would then be on the Goodyear Boulevard side to improve the access to the post office there, so you could make a left turn onto Goodyear Boulevard to get into the post office property.
Correct. I mean, that's,
Because right now, people are parking in the dirt along the right-of-way there, but we would like to see that being an access to the driveway.
yeah, that whole thing's a mess. And
Yeah.
the north side of the post office property, which abuts Goodyear Boulevard, is currently I'm going to call it a swale, a drainage swale. So we're going to need to make some significant improvements there. I'm about fixing the scallop street, but I'm not about killing the left into that post office for those of us that live north of the post office. And then to try to, and this is south of the recreation campus, so your next U-turn is going to be at Yuma.
Correct.
That, I think we're setting ourselves up for, that's not a really, that seems to be we're making a bad situation worse. Is there a way to flip these projects in order? I'm assuming we're doing this because we've got control over Estrella.
Correct. And Mayor, Councilmember Stipp, the developer does have their plan sets in for Estrella and Yuma, but we've also talked with them about the Goodyear Boulevard side, so I'm hopeful that that timing is going to be right neck and neck, so hopefully it will all be one bigger project and not be spaced apart so that that left in is gone for very long, if at all.
Yeah, I know we're having some intense conversations with the developer on that corner about Goodyear Boulevard, so I'm fearful that that's going to drag this out and make this situation through. I don't want to make you come back, but I'm not really excited about approving this tonight until we have some resolution to that. So I don't know which one's the cart and which one's the horse in this particular scenario. I appreciate us trying to get ahead of the Scallop Street. But the timing of the construction of this is going to be really critical. I heard Councilmember Campbell, I think, kind of sigh at us killing the southbound left into the post office. And this is probably something we should have done, 15 years ago. But so I'm not sure where I stand on that, but thanks.
Councilmember Campbell?
Thanks. I Councilmember Stipp. And the thing that I'm really concerned about, Christopher, we're coming up on the Christmas season where all of us jam in that little tiny parking lot to mail all of our packages. And we've got to be able to get over there coming from the north, going south, and to make a U-turn at Yuma and to come back up, unless we're going to redo all of the lights and give us a dedicated left turn lane for 15 minutes so we can all flip around to get back in. It's just not going to work. I'm sorry.
I understand.
So can you figure something out for us? You're our guru.
Yeah, thanks to Councilmember Stipp for that one. We can definitely talk about this a little more.
Okay.
What I could throw out to you now is even if we didn't do this project, that's what the developer would end up having to construct is removal of that turn lane. That's how I understand
Oh,
it.
shoot.
So there might have to be some further discussions on that, and Samit's here. if he wants
Christopher,
to
can you
help
put the
jump in.
map back up?
Sure.
Okay. Unless you want to put a new entrance and exit off of the north part of the post office where the dirt is, if you can figure out where we can go out, but then we'd still have to go around the circle, drop our mail, and then swing back around to come around. Yeah, that whole parking lot's not very good.
Correct.
Sorry.
Mayor and council, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the part that we are trying to solve with this project is to, again, not create a scallop street. As far as the developer requirements are concerned, they would be building that median anyway, whether we do this project or not. All we are trying to do is that when Estrella Parkway is improved from Yuma up to Hadley, which is just south of the post office, then we don't leave just a small frontage of the post office left undeveloped. So the situation that we're trying to avoid would happen anyway. The median construction to not allow the traffic southbound to make a left turn into the post office. So what we're trying to do is to at least have that extra lane be continued up to Goodyear Boulevard.
And if I could just add on a little bit to that, we do have plans to work with the developer because of their improvements on Goodyear Boulevard to make that access at the post office happen. It's just where Councilmember Stipp was saying, how's the timing of that play out? And that's why I don't know exactly how that's going to work.
Okay.
You done?
I have Mayor.
Okay, we got Councilmember Bray.
I think I'm going to I agree with Councilmembers Stipp and Campbell that it's a little premature. I appreciate that staff has recognized the Scallop Street and we got excited about fixing it, but it's leading then to other problems that I think causes a lot more problems in that area. And so if we're going to be down there designing and looking and working with the builder of that property, I'd rather vote on something that solves the entire problem, not just one little thing. And I think, so personally, I think this is premature for a vote tonight without knowing that we've solved other problems.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, and I just want to verify, so this tonight, does it lock it in, the CIP, for a certain time frame? Just give you leeway to parallel path it with their project as well and then the future solution? Does it, I mean, if we say go tonight, you don't have to go tomorrow and start doing this. I'm just trying to think the timing for you. This just gives you the leeway to have acceptance, to earmark this money to move forward with it. I agree, it'd be nice to have a solution for people who are going south to get into the post office easily. But I'm just curious, does us approving this tonight prevent you from making the timing correct and lining up all the projects appropriately?
So, Mayor, Vice Mayor, approving this project tonight will give us the ability to move forward with getting the design started for this portion in conjunction with the developer. I think we could still take a little bit of time and maybe try to hammer out the other issue as well. That's obviously a concern. and maybe bring this back in the very near future.
Councilmember Stipp?
My question is going to be for the manager. If we do approve this tonight to give you the ability to hold on to this project at the time we're ready to pull the trigger on it, I don't want to do anything to hamper it. It sounds like there's a lot of moving parts that are happening perhaps potentially quickly. I mean, I have a lot of faith that you've heard what we've said tonight. Does this, I mean, where can we make that happen? I mean, from a procedural perspective, with, as far as us providing the funding for this tonight, and then you holding it back, holding the reins on this until it's time?
So if I can clarify, as I understand the situation, the owner of the Goodyear 27 is going to be constructing the bottom 2/3 of this project. If we were to go into partnership with them, it would be one construction project. So they would hire one contractor and it would complete the complete roadway. If we were to hold off on that agreement, then at some future point in time, we would come back as a city, hire a contractor to construct that. So if I could clarify, is the goal to get a left turn in on Estrella, or is the goal to have secondary access to the post office, which could be accomplished on Goodyear Boulevard?
From my perspective, it is to be able to get in and out of the post office from a different way than we currently do today, which is technically off of Hadley. The best solution is a driveway off of Goodyear Boulevard. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but, I'm certainly not an idiot either, but I can figure out that that's the best way in. I don't believe Hadley is going all the way through that property for Goodyear 27.
Correct.
So, it's not like you can access it anywhere. And a right-in and right-only in and out of the United States Post Office in a community of 106,000 people doesn't make any sense. So if, I understand now, approving this tonight just allows the construction to all occur at one time, but I think we need an immediate relief to this scenario that needs to occur almost as quickly as this one came up to get that access in and out of that post office from the north side.
So, so to answer your original question then, yes, I believe if council was to approve this item tonight, we understand the intent and the priority is to get that secondary access, which would be accomplished on Goodyear Boulevard, and we would work to accomplish that goal quickly.
Okay. Thank you. You probably didn't even need to answer my question based on the actual understanding, so thank you.
You good? Seeing nothing else, can you open it up? All in favor? Ayes have it, 7-0. The next item and last item on the agenda on business is to consider approving projects responsible for the ITS equipment along Cotton Lane from Yuma to Lilac Street. Go ahead, you don't have to introduce yourself, you're already there.
Thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead.
This is a continuation of the discussion from the last council meeting. We were able to turn this around and bring back to you a plan to be able to do this project, which is installing ITS equipment on 3 different traffic signals on Cotton Lane between Yuma and Canyon Trails Boulevard. This would be procurement through the city, not using the federal funds that we had discussed last time. And by going this route, we feel that we could have this project completed by late end of summer next year, if not sooner, rather than the previous or the following year sticking with the federal dollars. So this would be a $92,200 project, 100% city funded, no federal grants being used at all.
All right.
That's it. Any questions?
Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Anybody in the audience like to speak? Will the council please enter a motion and a second to approve establishing the project responsibility for purchasing and installing ITS equipment along Cotton Lane from Yuma Road to Lilac Street slowly with the city of Goodyear. Authorize required budget amendments. Do I see a motion and a second? I do. Go ahead and let's get some discussion going. Let's see who we got. Oh, first one, Councilmember Stipp.
Yeah, apparently I got a fast finger tonight. We had a great deal of discussion 2 weeks ago on this subject. I appreciate seeing it back right away, number one, but number two, I just kind of want to make sure I understand this correctly. This does not solve our problem on Cotton Lane in the least, does it?
Correct.
Okay, so I want that kind of clearly stated, that even though we all recognize we have a massive problem on Cotton Lane, getting these lights and getting this hardware in isn't going to solve it. It just helps move us a little closer, and it does it quicker than having to go through, as Councilmember Bray experienced, the agonizing hoops of the bureaucracy of both the region and the state. But we should be under no false pretenses that this is going to magically make this better, right?
Correct. Mayor, Councilmember Stipp, it does help, but our issues are many, most of which is there are more cars than the roadway is really able to handle. That's the simple truth. So this technology does help us to be able to adapt and make changes quickly, monitor remote, move traffic when there's a problem, whenever that pops up. But the reality is that this is just one portion of that fix, and ultimately, there will have to be other improvements, either to Cotton or 303 needs to get built.
Okay, so improvements to Cotton. Got it. Thank you for your answering my questions.
Councilmember Lortano?
I appreciate as well you bringing this back quickly. I usually try to avoid that road, but the last couple of times I was driving it, and then as the chief, we asked for the accidents, and the reason for the accident seems like speed is the number one factor, because basically we have a major freeway emptying into a city street that bottleneck into 2 lanes. I mean, so I think that's a problem, and I'm glad this might be a little bit, but I do want the residents, I agree with Councilmember Stipp, that this is not going to fix Cotton Lane by any means. Now, the 303, that was part of the Prop 400 that is not going forward at this time, correct?
Yes, sort of.
The 303 part, yeah.
Yeah, the 303 part, currently the final design is still underway. So that portion of the project is still happening. The only indication we've had as far as construction is that it's quote-unquote at risk. That doesn't mean it's stopped. It has not been officially stopped. In fact, the design is still continuing, so we're hopeful. But lack of Prop 400 extension is an impact to that project and could cause a delay.
Okay, and is this something we're going to look at for some sort of intermediate, obviously on the city's dime, because can't rely on anyone else at this point, to try to help alleviate that in some way? Is there other ways we can look until that's built, some stopgap measures?
Yes, we've actually had some internal conversations already with brainstorming ideas on what could potentially happen here. But again, not knowing, certainty of funding and the Prop 400 and all those things is still in play. So nothing's really been decided, but, we do have some ideas on how we could potentially address it. And if we need to have those discussions, we will.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. At least this will give some relief, hopefully. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, thank you for being flexible and helping us to try to even mitigate a little bit of the traffic flow that's on there. But to your point, yeah, I mean, if all the lights are green coming off of there, you're still gonna come to a hard stop if someone takes a left turn into Canyon Trails south there near the Moose Lodge. So yeah, it's a bigger issue, but if we can give some relief to that area, that's helpful, and that's why I'm supportive of moving it this section of this plan forward for tonight. So thank you.
Councilmember Ray?
Thanks for bringing it back quickly, and was probably a little animated last go around, but that's okay. So we get it down to Yuma, right? Then we kind of just hurry it up into the biggest problem, right? We go down to 2 lanes. So without upgrading the street, what's the remedy at Lower Buckeye?
So Smeet and I had this exact conversation.
Because I feel like if we can get them past Lower Buckeye, at least we have a longer runway going to the
Right.
MC 85, right?
Right.
And that's the thing, is we're just trying to get those people out of that area.
They better hurry up moving. Yeah.
Right, and the reality is, you know, I mentioned capacity. The volume to the capacity of the roadway is significantly higher. We've already seen some preliminary information of data, travel time data, volume to capacity ratio and things like that through our transportation master plan. The consultant's already been working on that. We're about 20% over what the capacity is today. So the reality is there's not much you can do outside of, you know, what we're doing right now, without having that additional capacity. So we've been pushing off because 303 is coming, and now is it not? I don't know. But the real answer is additional capacity, which means more lanes.
So and that's what is concerning, right? Is so we're at 20% over today. There's housing projects on both sides of Cotton down there. I mean, we're exacerbating the problem on purpose and not doing anything to solve our traffic issues. I mean, that's collectively we, right? The council, you know, everything. And so at what point do we pull the trigger and say, okay, we're gonna have to put a road in there, expand the road, knowing that it could be tore up in 2 years?
That is the $64,000 question. Am I referencing that
Promise.
correctly?
$64 million.
Yeah,
Billion.
yeah. I don't have the answer for that for you, but I'm hopeful that we will be able to pin that down in the near future. Because one way or another, I mean, this section of roadway is the second most congested in the city. The first is the chunk of Estrella Parkway between Elliott and Cotton, where there is no other option. That's the only one that's worse than this.
And they're building those apartments right there off of Canyon Trails. I mean, how many do they hold? 200, 300 people?
10,000 people. The whole built out.
I mean, that's the thing. So I won't be here for the next budget cycle, but I really would hope that all my council members would really look at investing in Cotton Lane. And I'll be glad to show up and be on that side of the podium. But thank you. Yeah, I'll come speak.
Question, the one I probably wasn't asked, but I'm kind of curious about, if we were going to use our dollars to fix this problem, what are we looking at?
Well, it depends on what level you will go to.
I'm talking improving the
Is it
road.
just a temporary
I know it could be
fix?
throwaway, but temporary to fix it so you can move that traffic along, what Councilmember Bray was saying. How much money are we looking at?
It's a pretty broad range, but it could be a few $1 million to tens of millions of dollars. I can tell you, to get 2 additional lanes that we've looked at preliminarily, the Moose Lodge does need to be relocated. You're not safely going to get 2 new lanes through there without relocating the building or purchasing the right-of-way from them, which I do know ADOT has a right-of-way offer into them, so they've been talking about that right-of-way purchase, so that could help solve that part of that problem. But the reality is anywhere from, I don't know, 5 to 20 million, it just depends.
The only reason why I ask is just to, piggyback on what Councilmember Bray was saying. If we're, even with the lights, if we still have accidents, if we can save lives on that, it may be something that we talk about in our CIP to see what we can do to, and I realize if 303 happens or doesn't happen, who knows at this point, but, do we really want to wait to say, if it's 20% over capacity, do we wait another year? Do we wait 2 years? Do we wait 3 years? What if it never happens? So maybe it's a discussion we have at some point in one of our budgets or whatever to discuss how do we fix this problem? If it's 20% of cast, it's only going to get worse. So, but I appreciate the effort that you've done so far and how quick you brought this back. So with that, don't have any more coming up.
I just have a question, Mayor, to follow up with you. Could this be a conversation that we have at our retreat?
Could be,
Okay, thanks.
could be. All right.
Oh, sorry, excuse me.
With that, can I get the voting open? All in favor? Passes 7-0. Does Council have any comments, commendations, reports on current events, or requests for future items? Look to the left. See none. Look to the right. Oh, wait a minute, right here to the left, so go ahead.
Push my button.
All right.
Oh,
I think Wally beat you to the button, but that's okay, go ahead. Oops, you got it. No, you're
Okay.
good, go.
I
go ahead.
just have a couple good news things.
All right.
First of all, the two schools up in Estrella, both Westar and Estrella Elementary, got A ratings, so I think we should be very proud of them up there.
I saw that.
They have also their band up in Estrella Foothills made their state competition. So, and then I have kind of a good news thing for water, because we've been talking a lot about water that we learned at the AMWA meeting. They have on their website a lot of information about different plans, and as we update our guidelines that other cities are using on their website, that's very helpful. But it's something that came out that the 10 AMWA cities serve about 50% of the state's population, and we only use 11% of the water. So I think that's something, when we talk about conservation, is always great, but I think that's something that, we do need to tell our residents we are doing a good job, can always do better. And that also is important to know, we use the same bucket of water for more people that we used in the mid-50s. So those are my good news things for today.
Fantastic. Councilmember Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to ask if we could pause for a moment of silence to memorialize a long-term resident of our city. Chuck Watson
Oh, Chuck.
has been a model citizen and a dedicated volunteer to the city of Goodyear for many, many years. He was an integral member of the North Subdivision Neighborhood Alliance, serving as the group's vice chair in 2010 and 2011, and as chair in 2012 and 2013, and he was instrumental in bringing all the residents together in that neighborhood. He was the founding member of the Graffiti Busters program in 2011, serving as the primary point of contact for more than 3 years. And this program has helped keep Goodyear clean even today. Chuck served as the chairman of our 2025 General Plan Committee, contributing his time in countless public meetings to help determine fundamental strategies to guide Goodyear's future growth. He was a selfless volunteer for the city, contributing hundreds of hours for GAIN, You Are Not Alone, Yana, Adopt a Park, and various clerical jobs that have helped the city council and the staff. Chuck passed away, unfortunately, on October 2nd, and he will be missed, but he left a legacy that will long be remembered with what he did for our city. And we extend, on behalf of the city, the council, all of us, our deepest sympathy and love to his family, to his wife, Carol, and his children. Thank you.
Moment of silence for Chuck. Thank you, Wally. He will be sorely missed. I didn't know that Chuck had passed, but yeah, you're right. He's done a lot for the city.
A lot for the city.
Does the city manager have anything to report?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. The Georgia T. Lord Library Friends and Family Day was held last Saturday, November 5th, from 10 to 3, and we had over 1,400 patrons enjoying games, programs, entertainment, and refreshments. Mayor Pizzillo and Supervisor Hickman participated in a fun storytime reading to over 75 youth and adults. There was free popcorn from Harkins Theater and lemonade from Elk Brew. And we had library teen volunteers who delighted the crowds throughout the day as they dressed in costume for photo ops. And the Friends of the Library sponsored a video game truck and music from Mr. Singer. Coming up this Friday, we are proud to be having a new format for our Veterans Day Tribute Festival with some murals. The ceremony will start, or the event will start with a brief ceremony at 5 p.m. Then there'll be 2 bands that will take the stage for an evening of music and dancing. Other activities include a flag garden, food trucks, art activities, and the Super Bowl host committee will be on site with the Vince Lombardi Trophy for the public to take photos with it. You might have noticed we have 10 artists who are working on 10 8x8 patriotic-themed murals to honor those who have served and are currently serving. So we do invite the community to stop by Civic Square this week to enjoy as those art pieces are created. They will be complete and on display at the Veterans Day event this Friday. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a fun event. My book was a ribbit, a pig who thought he was a frog. So, yeah, it was fun reading to the kids, and they had a great time. They really did. So with that, next meeting will be November 14th, 2022, with a work session starting at 5 p.m. and a regular meeting followed at 6 p.m. No further business. This meeting is adjourned.